pain is real, but so is hope. The depths to which I stalked people back then is a bit embarrassing.
I have to hold all my chords.
Yes, Vampire Diaries was great, but Abby!
Hey, welcome back to the Reading Queens podcast. Today we have a very fun episode, an interview with our very own Abby J. Reed. Hello, Abby.
Hello!
I'm very excited. We're finally doing this. We've done a bunch of interviews for the Queens already, and Abby is here now as our guest of honor, so yay. I'm Valia.
Queen of honor.
Queen of honor, there you go.
I'm Joanna.
Yeah, so the two of us, Joanna and Valia, we're going to hang out with Abby and ask her all kinds of questions about her books and her life and her pets. And yes, let's just get into this. Yes.
I'm excited. I actually do feel like royalty.
Yeah.
So it's like two interviewees and I'm standing at my standing desk because I like my back. And so I'm like, oh, I'm in a special position. This is awesome.
I love it.
I love
it. The setup. Hey, the setup is important. Okay.
Yeah, it really is.
It makes a difference. So yeah, let's just kind of start at the beginning. So we did do introductions when we first recorded like the first season. So we did talk to you and ask you a couple questions, but can you just give the listeners like a rundown of like who you are, what you write, just a little brief introduction?
Yes. I am Abby J. Reed. I write sci-fi, fantasy, little bit of nonfiction, and I'm trying to get into middle grade. So I'm a little all over the map, but I like it that way because I just get bored and I like to juggle projects.
I love it. So you're also creative. You paint.
Yes, I do.
Which we'll talk about in a second as well, because I feel like that plays part in your books.
Yes, yeah. That does for sure.
Which we love. I don't know. I always like really love finding out about like people's processes and like how like they do stuff and how like other parts of their life affect it. So anyway, sorry, I'm like already going off script. It's fine. Let's talk about your trilogy. Okay, so your sci-fi trilogy is complete and out.
Yes. Yeah. So it's called The Stars Fall Circle. I mean, say that 10 times fast. It's a trilogy and a companion novella that takes place in between book 1 and 2. It's about like a perspective of another character and the events leading up to 2. So yeah, it's sci-fi. It was released as YA, but I've kind of been convinced that it leans more adult than sci-fi.
I can see that. Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's more my wheelhouse.
That makes sense. You want to give us like just a brief overview of this story, or book 1, I guess, maybe?
Yeah. So it's written from 3 different points of views. So you can pick your choice of characters if you want to get attached to. Whether or not they survive, I'm not going to tell you. But the main character, I know, cruel. But the main character name is Breaker. He's an amputee. And the story kind of kicks off when he discovers this wrecked starship and is manhandled into fixing it for an enemy tribe. And he does that in order to save his little brother from going to fight in a war. So it's kind of the events of that and how it spins off. And the other main character is named Milani, and she has body mod metal wings. So if you like the whole angel aesthetic but twisted, I got you.
I love it.
I know, that's great. Do you want to talk about like what inspired you to write it? Was there anything specific, or you just got like an idea?
Actually, yeah.
Okay.
So my very, very, very first book that's like buried in the archives of my computer. I actually tried to find it the other day and I like couldn't find it, which might be a good thing. I don't know. But that was inspired by a short story I wrote in college. And this series was the same.
Okay.
So my major was in like creative writing, short story, which was awesome because, while my roommates were studying biology and math, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go write a 20-page short story. Bye. Have fun studying. I'm going to write about aliens.
I love it.
Oh yeah, it was the best ever. The short story I came up then for my class was actually rewind it even further, based on a youth camp that I went to way back in high school, like my freshman year in high school. So it's called Hume Lake. If you're in California, like especially in the central area, you'll know what Hume Lake is. It's just this like Christian camp stuck up in the mountains. It was awesome. I love people. I love like fun things. Anyway, so each camp has a theme. And so the theme for the week was called Xenoviv, which was this, I don't know, mock-up of like Greek and Roman whatever.
Okay.
And it was I don't know. It was like sci-fi, and they had TV show. I know this camp committed, man. Like
that's awesome.
They go all in. Yeah, it was like
it's like world building.
Yes. And so they had like the TV screens and everything, and the passage in scripture that this Xenoviv was taken out of was just the idea of the Israelites coming into a land that wasn't their own and making their home there.
Okay.
So when like they exited out of Egypt and yada 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 yada. And so that idea just really stuck with me. So when I'm sitting there in my college like dorm room, racking my brain for a story so I could actually get a good grade in this class, it came back. Just the idea of these people coming to a land and thinking that it's their home when it's actually not. And so I started to build a world off of that. And it's funny because when I look at that short story now, I see a lot of very similar things that stuck.
Okay.
Like my character Chief Malvin was there. My main character Breaker, a side character Tanya, is in that book. Like was in that short story too. And the basic bone of the book series was there.
Huh.
And so. Cool. Yeah, and then, I get notes back from my teacher. She's like, well, I was thinking it would be a little more literary, like spaceships or whatever. I'm like, okay. She's like, but you might want to stick with this idea. So I just backburnered it. And then, fast forward another handful of years. And when I was poking around trying to think of what to write next, just the short story idea came back. And like, I think there is something here. So I started digging into it again, and the phrase red blood for a red planet like popped up in my mind. And so I just started playing with that idea and developed this red planet for red-blooded people. Like, where would that come from? And da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I got sucked in. So that's probably the most like extensive backstory of a novel. All the way back into high school.
Oh, I love that so much though, because I mean, as writers, like we get inspired by the weirdest things, but it's like so fun to be inspired by yourself. Like
like I was inspired by a camp, which inspired me, and then I was inspired by myself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like that's a different way to get inspired, which I love. What was your favorite part about writing the trilogy?
I loved the evolution of it.
Okay.
So I know it's like a really writerly thing to say, but I love puzzling together stories and just seeing those payoff moments that in book one, all of a sudden it comes back in book three and you didn't plan it, but it kind of clicked together and you're puzzling how it all fits. I love that. And I just love the theme, because the theme of home became a major theme in this book. And it actually became a source or a place I could put a lot of my complicated feelings about my own home into that, like where I grew up, like putting that into that and just seeing all that emerge. And I just love it. And characters making terrible decisions and great decisions and flipping things back and forth and just, oh my gosh, I could just go all the fangirl about writing the whole time. I love it.
I love that. Okay, before we dive into the next part of this, I do want to ask you, so are you like a pantser or a plotter when it comes to that? Because you talk about how like you connected things. Did you?
Yeah, I'm kind of a hybrid.
Okay.
I have to. Okay, so another backstory. The very first book I wrote was a sci-fi dystopian horror.
Love it.
So it was supposed to be like
not surprised.
Not surprised. It was a Frankenstein retelling.
Okay.
I still love the idea. Like I'm like, maybe I will and just overhaul it. Anyway, so it was my first time trying to write a book, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna jump in and like do it, and I know it's gonna things are gonna explode and people are gonna die and all this stuff.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, like my main character was sitting by the river watching the sunset and then goes to like the house of her parents with chocolate chip cookies, and chocolate was like super rare because this is dystopian, you know, so it was a really big deal. She was eating chocolate chip cookies, and at that point I was going, okay, this like
That sounds light and fluffy.
yeah, I was like, this is not how I need to make
Where's the
this.
people dying? Come on.
I was like, So I then kind of started researching how to plot books or how to outline or plan books. And I stumbled across, his name's Randy Ingermanson. I believe Kristen actually uses the same method, but it's called the snowflake method.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, I love it. And so it's a way to outline and plot organically. So you still get the pantser surprises as you're digging in and exploring character and plot, and you're filling it out and growing it. But you still get surprises, and I really love that. And then what I've gotten to the point now where when I'm sitting down, I'll outline all my scenes. I don't get much beyond that, beyond just outlining scenes. And then when I get into the writing bit, everything changes.
Okay.
So then I have to, reassess the game plan, remap things, go back to square one, tear out a plot line, go back in, like da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so the other thing that you have that came out today is your nonfiction.
Yay!
Congratulations, by the way.
Woohoo! Check one off.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. This is so different than like anything we've talked about on the podcast before. So
yeah, it really is. I was actually kind of nervous to come on and talk about it because it's so like left wing out there.
I don't know. I think it's actually something that is very relatable to a lot of people. Like you know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, we are more like young adult fantasy sci-fi podcasts with books and writing and stuff like that, but like this is something that I think a lot of people live with. And so I love reading nonfiction. I do. And I love memoirs because seeing somebody else go through like life with any kind of like struggle or disability or anything like that, and seeing people like thrive and really just live life to the fullest is like so encouraging. So memoirs are like something that I love because they just always, I'm like proud of people I don't know kind of thing, you know. But
well, it's a way to experience life without actually
having
having
go through
to
it. Yeah.
do it. Yeah, you can get all the highs. It's kind of like fiction in that way, except you're not like killing bad guys.
Right, exactly. So. But anyway, so you published a memoir about your life with what's the name of it? Say it for me.
Okay, so the Color of Pain is the name of the memoir.
Right, and the little
yeah, and my little tag is the intersection of migraine, art, and faith.
Yes.
So yeah, it kind of looks at a 10-year period of my life with chronic intractable migraine. So dives into that.
Yes. So we're going to talk about this book because first of all, I'm very excited to read it. I do have migraines. They're different type. So
there's a whole bunch.
I never knew.
Realize that.
Yeah, I never knew that there were so many until I like started actually studying about them because I'm like, I need to figure out which one I have. So yeah, I don't know. I'm always very impressed by people who have any kind of chronic illness who can thrive the way, you thrive like the way you do. Yeah. And everything that you've accomplished is like very amazing and just incredible. So anyway, okay.
I'll take it.
Yeah, let's talk about this memoir.
Okay.
So what made you want to write it?
I wanted to write it because I was sick of seeing people get better in books. So when I was super, super sick, like on the couch, bedridden sick, all I wanted was other stories of people like me, especially if they were creative, like other artists, other writers, because I just wanted to know if it was possible for me to create, for me to live, to have a life like with this illness, especially authors. But I would stalk them. I'm kind of the depths to which I stalked people back then is a bit embarrassing. But it's like I had to know, and so I would follow people. And what I ran into is that all the stories that people shared was that they all got better at the end, and they all walked off the pages. They found a cure. They found a solution. And I didn't want that. And even authors who had illnesses, a lot of them were in a place where they were, not in relapse, but like the opposite of relapse, where you get better
Remission?
for a period. Remission. Yeah, a lot of them were in remission, and that's when they would actually do their creating.
Okay, yeah.
Is not when they're sick, but when they're in remission. And I was looking at a disease that there is no remission. That's just the nature of it. And there might be periods of time where the pain isn't as severe, but it's never gone. Like, I'm always going to be dealing with it. And so, yeah, I just wanted a story that I could cling to and just give me hope that I could have a life of some form on the couch. So I started writing it because I needed a place to put things. Like, I needed to put my thoughts beyond just a journal, beyond whatever. And so I started writing down pain as it was happening, and like instances in my life as it was happening. And it was really interesting trying to describe pain as it's occurring to you. But the process of trying to describe it morphs it, because it moves, it shifts and stuff, and just bringing attention to it, it changes. So that was a super interesting thing. And I kind of ended up pulling memories together. And at one point, I just had this huge vomit pile word scrivener thing of just thoughts, phrases, scenes from my life, or stories or poetry. And I just kind of compiled it and sent it to my mom and my sister. I was like, do I have something here? I feel like I have something here. Like, I don't know. And yeah, I just sat with it and started morphing out of it. But I don't know, every time I sat down to work on it, I just felt this overwhelming sense of joy and peace. Aww. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing in this moment. And I definitely feel that when I'm writing fiction, but it was even more so. Yeah. Like, just a sense of certainty that, yes, like in this moment, I am supposed to be writing this down. And that just gave me the, courage isn't the right word, but maybe the fortitude to keep moving forward on this and keep finagling it and figuring it out and yada, 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 yada. So, long answer, but that's why I wrote it.
I love that so much. Sorry.
That's what I was saying. Well, I love that you did this, that you wrote this, because now other people out there that are like you, that are looking for something where they don't get better, can find hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what you've written.
Yeah. And I actually, the epigraphs, like the little quotey things before the books actually start.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read them. But the first is from this gal named Tabitha McDuffie. I found her on Instagram. Like, we've like talked back and forth a couple times. But she had, she's also a writer with a chronic illness. But she had posted on her Instagram this, like, just this phrase she came up with. I was like, oh my gosh, like, pain is real, but so is hope. And
yeah,
I don't know, like, just accepting the reality of both of that. It's like, okay, I emailed her. I was like, can I steal that from you? Like, I want to put it in my book. And then Madeleine L'Engle's Walking on Water, Reflections on Faith and Art. Oh, I love that book. But she wrote, the discipline of creation, be it to paint, compose, write, is an effort toward wholeness. And I love that because just the act of creating and paying attention and being present and painting or sitting or even watching TV, and you're entering into that moment creatively with the TV producers, you're moving toward wholeness, and wholeness doesn't necessarily look like healing. And I liked that.
You can't tell, but I like literally have goosebumps right now from you talking.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I just like love your passion for it so much, and it just like it shows that like this is your journey, and you're like the fact that you're willing to share that with people, I think is so super admirable, because there are so many people out there that like have something to say and they don't say it, you know? but like you're like you have this journey, your life journey, and here you are like sharing it, and I don't know, I just love that so much.
I'll take it because I definitely think I lean on the side of TMI. Just in life in general.
I think it's part of your personality, but that's okay.
And I think I mentioned this in the book, but I used to be so high energy as a kid. Like, if you think I'm high energy now, I'm like a third of what I was intense. And I wasn't even trying to be. It was just blah, 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 blah. But then I'm like also super optimistic just naturally. And so actually I do talk about this in the book, but it actually caused problems getting a diagnosis because I would walk into the office and they would ask me, how are you doing? How's your pain this week? And I would think back going, oh, like I went for a walk. It was a great week. And then I eventually had to learn to bring people with me to appointments to advocate for me because I couldn't do it. Because I wasn't accurate enough. And my husband would turn and look at me and go, are you kidding me? Like, you were on the couch for like 5 days out of the week. You're crying.
Yeah.
That's not accurate, but I blocked it out. And so I focused so much on the positive that I didn't get to take care of the negative and take those steps. So, but in this case, writing a memoir, it worked in my favor.
Yeah. And I think that it will like push people to do the same, because I think that's like a lot of, I can't say a lot of, but like the people that I know with like chronic illnesses or something like that, it's one or the other. It's people who are so optimistic that like they don't say that this is the thing, or they're so depressed that like you can't even talk to them. So I think
it is interesting. There's a split there.
Yeah, so I think it's like important to bring awareness to that, because regardless of what kind of personality you have, like you have to bring awareness to it. So and I too, as I've been talking about, or even talking about this memoir, the people who have been coming out of the woodwork has been so fascinating. Just because people have struggled, they have stories, they have brokenness and hurt and pain, and seeing them come out and just having one person say, hey, it's me, and then everyone else responding, yeah, me too. Like that, like the echo and the call there. Yeah.
I love this.
I know.
Oh, I should say too, so what I think is super interesting about the book, plug for myself, is it is structured like a migraine. So it takes you through the phases of a migraine and weaves together the similarities in creativity.
Okay.
Because I found that there's a lot of overlap between pain and especially migraine, pain and creativity. And so I'm kind of walking you through that in the book, also chronologically, and also weaving these tendrils of like a faith journey in with it. So yeah, if you liked Malin Langell's Walking on Water, Andrew Peterson's Adorning the Dark, or even, I'm going to butcher her name, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but the gal who wrote Between Two Kingdoms, it's super popular right now. If you liked those stories and kind of were looking for a mashup, twist up, spun together thing, that's this book. It's not a theological treatise. It's not like a straight, this is my life and this is what I did to try to conquer the problem. It's not like that. It weaves together a lot of different things.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow.
I know, we're just like, okay.
Just in awe.
Basically.
So I have to ask a question. How has having this chronic illness impacted your creativity?
So much. Oh my gosh, so much. Partly because before I got sick, I knew writing would be in my life. I just didn't know how. And so it wasn't until I got super sick and was basically bedridden did I really start to pursue writing and creativity and stepping into that. So I really genuinely think that if I hadn't gotten as sick as I did, I don't think I would have discovered the full extent of my creativity. Like I learned how to paint because I needed something that didn't aggravate the pain, because everything did. Breathing, walking, sitting, watching TV, like writing, everything, but painting didn't. And so what I would do well, I took some lessons. There was a studio by my house, and they're super gracious, like, you know, this early 20-something coming in with all like the 70-year-old grandma ladies, and they're super welcoming. I actually still go, which is fun. Yeah, and I would just set out painting stuff, watercolor, paper, acrylic, and paint. I would paint 4 to 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Every day for a long period of time, just because it was the only thing I could do. And I learned that problem solving, painting wise, translates really well to problem solving and writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so learning how to flip a canvas and turn it around, and learning how to flip plots around and characters, very, very, very similar. And so I wouldn't have had that unless I, you know, sat there in the pain and worked through it to paint something and to create something. So honestly, pain gave me space. Like, illness gave me space to pursue this. And it really forced me to sit down, to slow down, to pay attention. All writers, all artists of all stripes need to learn how to pay attention, to be present, and actually notice the tiny, tiny little details. Because it's those little details that bring a scene to life. Like the fact that it's the golden orange dappled leaf or whatever instead of just a tree. You know, it's the nuances and the feel of something, like the feel of a bath bomb going down a drain, like what that looks like and feels like against your skin. I had to sit there and just sit in it and watch the bath bomb drain because I couldn't do anything else. So I got really good at paying attention and trying to bring those little things. And honestly, even career-wise, looking as a whole, learning how to be content with small things. So I was a huge dreamer growing up. I wanted to go out and change the world. And, you know, in junior high, I had this like, oh my gosh, you're gonna laugh, like this game plan for how to like help Iranian refugees and like feed them all. And I'm like a tiny, well, I wasn't tiny. I was like a tall, gawky little 7th grader. And I had like my whole plan and like everything.
Oh my gosh,
and
I love it.
like, or even in high school, my church did VBS.
Yeah,
like we did some
Vacation Bible
partners
School.
with stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, and we were doing it to a huge like Hispanic population, and a lot of the material was in English, so it just sucked.
Yeah,
like the metaphors and the allusions, they didn't translate well. So I had this, so like we tried to translate and like make our own in Spanish and but like my whole thing was, I'm going to like go out and create Spanish stuff and international things and people's native languages and all these kids and and now I'm just like, you know, Vampire Diaries, that season was really good. But just someone has to enjoy beauty. Someone has to be there to receive it. So like, why not me?
Well,
that's
yes, Vampire Diaries was great. But Abby, sorry, I had to just plug that in there. You are doing it.
Yeah.
By releasing this memoir, you're going to impact probably way more people than you could have, even helping refugees.
Yeah,
You know,
maybe.
Like,
I mean, that's the hope.
Yeah. You will.
You will, for sure. Yeah. It's like, you know, that saying that they say, it's like, if you save one life, like you save the world kind of thing. Because it's like,
I don't know that. Is it like a butterfly effect type thing?
it's kind of the concept that if you, okay, so as a writer, right, we get like negative reviews and stuff like that. And so very early on in my career, I talked to some authors, and one of the advices that I received is like, if you are there impacting one reader, like if you change one reader's lives because of your book, like, is that enough? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing to change somebody's life because of your story. And they're like, okay, so think of it. So if you save one life, you save the world, because first of all, you save their world, right? Because that life is a world all on its own. Yeah. So you saved a whole world already, but think about how many people that person will impact, and that person will, you know, touch and be able to be around or whatever. So it's like, you never know. So like maybe one person reads your memoir and they realize that they're finally being seen for who they are after not being seen for so long. And that becomes a whole, that saves their world, first of all. And then even if they touch two people's lives, those people will touch two people's lives. You know what I mean? It's like, it is a butterfly effect, but it's like, that's how I look at my writing. And for something that you've released that is so important, something that is, you know, our obviously, like, our books, I think, are important. Okay, we entertain in the fun way, but to open up about something that is just like really affects like your life and who you are as a person, and to let somebody else see basically inside of you and how you deal with that, and give them hope that they didn't have before, like, you're saving the world right there with just that one little thing. And I think that's amazing.
It's true, but it's also, okay, getting real personal here on the podcast in front of all your listeners. There's also a part of me that struggles to receive that. I think because I had to learn how to be content with small, and be content with just, with real, like, accepting that if my whole life was spent on the couch, is receiving love enough? Like, and just being in that love, is that enough? And just going, yeah, you know what, that's a life well lived. All I ever do is watch Vampire Diaries and enjoy it, and enjoying somebody's art and beauty. That's a good dang life. Like, that is good. So I still struggle with thinking, okay, maybe I could, like, change a life, because it's, you know, I want to slap my hand and be like, bad Abby. like you learned a lesson there, don't go forgetting it. But that, I mean, that's part of the tricky part too, is you learn something, but just because you learn something doesn't mean it can grow and stretch. Like, you can have a both and. Like, you can have small, and you can also dream to touch like a life or two. That's okay. Like, there's space for both. But I still struggle with it.
Which I think is totally normal. I think that's part of our lives, because, like, first of all, we have a tendency to be very hard on ourselves, right? So if we're not reaching certain goals, if we're not, you know, if we're dreaming big and we're not getting there, then of course we're going to be like, well, what am I doing? Like, is it enough what I'm doing right now and stuff like that? Like, that's totally normal for anybody. And it's a learned behavior. And the thing about learned behavior is that you can unlearn it, and you can change it, and you can grow from it. And that's the best thing.
It's true.
And honestly, Abby, like, think about it. Our queens, like, I can tell you right now that you have already changed my life. And being part of the queens, like, that's, you've made a difference.
You're gonna make me cry.
But we're being real and honest here, right?
I know. Don't even tell me that. I'm like,
you should know that. You should know that being part of the queens, like, that's how I think about our group. Like, I am where I am because each one of you guys have touched my life in a very special way. And you did it so in another special way that nobody else can, because you wrote this memoir and you shared your heart in this way that nobody else can, because nobody else is you, you know, kind of thing. So
yeah.
And it's not a small thing.
No.
This memoir is not a small thing. It's huge.
I know you keep saying it's a small thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just being able, I know our podcast people can't see it, but just being able to hold it like this, like, and then
so
the
pretty
queens,
too.
Yeah, the queens gave me feedback, like, on paint splotches, and, like, because I wanted this book to be beautiful. Like, I wanted, that was something in my heart, and they were just like, you know, that, like, it looks like there was an ink splotch. You need to make it bigger.
We're so
like,
honest.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, but it looks so good now, and just, I don't know, you guys all participated in it, and I just want to hug everybody. I want to hug the planet sometimes. Like, I just want to hug everybody.
I love it. That's all. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know. That was good. Oh, man.
Do we have any other questions? Oh, yeah. Let's talk about your pets.
Oh, yeah.
Let's tell me about your babies, your fur babies.
Yeah. I'm trash for my pets. Absolutely. Like, okay, I was the kid growing up who's like, why would you have a dog in the house? It's like the same as having a cow, and you don't have cows in the house. And I had a dog. Like, I had a dog, a family dog that slept on my pillow, and that was still
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. And so I don't know. When I met my husband, he's straight up told me, he's like, we're having a dog. It's going to be a big dog. I'm like, okay, that's whatever. Like, I won't love it, but fine, whatever. I can tolerate it. And so when we finally moved from an apartment to like a house with a yard, I was like, okay, I will get him a dog. He really needs a dog. So, I was looking, and we ended up getting Apollo, who is an Irish doodle. Mm-hmm. So he is half Irish setter, half poodle. He's literally on my feet right now. Mm. Like he's always sleeping on my feet, always by my side. But actually, I do talk about this in the memoir too, but we got him to help with all the suicide like urges, just having something to take care of and to root me. And we trained him to sit with me through migraines. So his favorite day is when I'm sick in bed, like with the flu or something, because he just has an excuse to sleep there the whole day. Like, he's funny. But he's Irish setters are hunting dogs. And to sum up his personality, Irish setters hunt animals. He hunts flies. And that's like sums him up. And that's so his favorite thing. Yeah, he likes to hunt flies. And so I'll be like here typing, and he, leaves my desk, and all of a sudden I hear this sound. I'm like, what? And I'll look over, and he's like trying to catch a fly, but it's up too high on the glass, so his lips are like smacking against the glass. And it's like oh, so that's how we got him.
That's awesome.
And yeah, he's 7. And then Athena, we actually adopted her, but she's also 7. But I felt so bad because I was so sick that I couldn't walk him like he needed to be walked when he was a puppy. And so, I was constantly like calling my family, and my family, they're so great. They're so great. They would come over and help me out, and my dad would take the dogs for a walk. So I just couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we wanted to get him a buddy, so that way he wasn't just laying around not getting exercise. So we tried to get him a friend. Athena is a bulldozer. Mm-hmm. She is slightly smaller, thinks she's like 150 pounds, and I don't think she has like spatial awareness sometimes, because she'll she'll try to play, and she'll just bam, smack, like send him flying, across the room. And she's smaller than him.
I love it.
And yeah, she had a lot of problems, but we really worked with her, and I worked with her. And we got she's 7 now, got most of it out of control, and she's just the sweetest bean now. Mm. But it took us 6 months before she would let us touch her head. And then additional year on top of that. Oh, and then another 6 months before she would start leaning against us. And then after a solid year and a half total, she would snuggle with us. And now she's just the most trusting, loves my husband. She hunts all the squirrels in the yard and keeps the evil bastards from our apple trees. And like, it is her job. And she treats it like her job. So yeah, I'm obviously trash for them, and my husband makes fun of me because he's like, I thought you were the one who didn't like dogs, and I'm the one who, oh, babe, like, don't let them get out of bed so soon. Like, they're just soft, and they're comfortable. Like, they need 5 more minutes. Like, I can't. Yeah. So it's so been adorable. A complete turn of the tables.
Yeah. I love that so much.
I don't know what our kid's going to do, because yeah, I'm like, sorry, you are the 3rd born. You realize that. Like, you have 2 other siblings. They just have 4 legs.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up soon. But first, I want to know what you're working on next. Can you share that?
I'm like, oh man, I'm working on so much. So I am kind of in a season of working on things slowly right now. So I'm taking my time. But I have a standalone fantasy I'm working on. It's adult. I've learned my lesson about YA. I just embrace the adultness in me. Super excited about that. I just need to do another round of edits, and then I'm going to, start moving forward with it.
Okay.
And then I've got a couple middle grades. Need another round of edits on one of them. And then, this will be fun for your sci-fi reader, or my sci-fi reader, our sci-fi readers, whatever. But almost done with a short story sci-fi trilogy.
Okay.
So this was kind of an experiment for me, just to see if I don't know what it would be like to write a short story trilogy. So the first 2 are done. I need to write the third. It's very typical me in that it's a little dark and a lot of death. And it's in space. So
I just love that the typical you is like, you're this like the sunshine, right? Like 100% Arizona sunshine kind of thing. And then your books are like a little death, a little space, a little blood, just some horror. Like, it's like such balance that I just love it so much. Every time you say that, it just makes me laugh. Okay, one more question before we wrap it up. Are you reading anything right now? Because you're usually reading a lot, so...
I am usually reading a lot. So I picked up Andrew Peterson's... He has a new book out called The God in the Garden.
Okay.
And I'm only a couple pages in. It's so beautiful. Like the sense of place and just the beauty in that place. It's like a cup of tea for my heart. Aww. Like, honestly. I just want to sit and I'm actually, my eyes are like tingling a little bit because it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to sit and like, this is where I want to be. Just how he describes trees of all things. I don't know. It's
Love
beautiful.
It.
So I'm reading that, and I'm finally getting around to reading the second Crescent City book.
Okay.
So I'm about halfway through. I have thoughts, I have ideas, but so far, like, I'm into it. I like it.
Okay.
And yeah, I do have like some thriller horrors coming up. But I actually won my first Goodreads giveaway ever.
Okay.
So I'm so excited.
Congratulations.
I know. It feels like a really big thing because I've been trying for like a decade and I've never won anything. And now I finally have.
Awesome.
But Ken Liu's The Grace of Kings series. I won number 4, Speaking Bones. So I need to like go through and actually finish reading the series to get to number 4 so I can post a review about it. But those are Chinese inspired fantasy.
Okay.
So they're super interesting. He calls it silk punk.
Oh, okay.
So it's I don't even know how to describe it, but I love reading fantasy and sci-fi from different cultures because it's so different, and this is definitely like that.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for being our guest of honor today.
I know. It's
yeah, I just love listening to you talk, so it's great. Yeah, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I will leave links below for Abby's socials and her books, so you guys can check those out. Make sure to also check out our Patreon and Instagram at Reading Queen Spot. Also, we'll link everything below. You know me. That's what I do. And yes, please, before you go, follow us on your favorite podcast platform. I got this, you guys. And leave a rating or a review. We would really appreciate it. And then tell your friends to come hang out with us every Wednesday because clearly we're just having too much fun and we want you to join. So yeah, we'll talk to you then.
Bye. Guys.